Welcome everybody, my name's David Keene. I head up marketing for Google for Work here in Northern Europe. The team asked me to come on and talk about Google X today, which I can't do because if I tell you about it, I'll have to kill you all afterwards. It's very, very secret. It's somewhere in Roswell in the desert in California, and we have aliens in there, and no, just kidding. They asked me to come and talk about Google X. What I'd like to talk about is actually where do ideas come from, and then just lead into some of the Google X stuff. Now, you've seen there are self-driving car, and there's several types of self-driving car. I've not been in that one, I've been in one of the others, and it's amazing. It's like going on a roller coaster, but without tracks. Literally, you're driving along, and you know that kind of feeling in a roller coaster when you're going up, and then you're going down, and you're around the curve, and you close your eyes. It's like that, but you're on the roads. It's absolutely incredible. And to me, the key thing here is not that we can build the idea, but it's where does the idea come from? And if we look at any of the ideas that are there, so Google Glass is just one such thing. Here's Google Glass, which I don't walk around with on my face, because actually it kind of gets in the way sometimes. I use it a lot for particular things. And we do have the Glass team here afterwards for you to play with it if you've not played with them already. But I have a Google Watch. I have lots of things that when I get on a plane, I have to turn off. One of the things I really need, startup idea for anyone who's in the business of startups here, which I sense some of you may be, some kind of federated power off, federated flight mode. I'd like to turn all my devices to flight mode now, please. I would pay for that. So let me know if you build that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about ideas and where ideas come from, things like the self-driving car, and how can we create an environment in business, both small and large, where ideas can be planted, flourish, harvested, and also destroyed. Because one of the key things about Google and the way we do ideation here is that we create this amazing kind of field of dreams of ideas, and then we trash almost 99% of them. So we get rid of them. So ideation is about creation, being free and open, and then destroying the things you don't want to move forward, and having really clear gates up there around how many things do we want to do? What's the criteria? Because everyone's got their own idea. Everybody wants their own idea to be successful. The self-driving car is an amazing idea from a great guy called Sebastian Thrun, who recently left Google to go off and do some even bigger and more amazing things. But he was driven initially by the fact that a very close friend of his was killed on the roads. And the idea that sparked him was, well, actually, cars are the #1 killer of people on the planet, particularly in developing countries. So if we could actually fix that, wouldn't it be amazing? Isn't that actually a really big problem that we should try and fix? So there's lots and lots of amazing things. To me, self-driving cars, the best use I can see of them is actually being able to put my kids in them and send them off somewhere. I'm not quite sure what I really mean is like when they're going to karate or dance or football, so that I don't have to spend the entire weekend driving from A to B to C with children. But anyway, where do ideas come from? Challenge yourself on this. Run with me on this. Think back to your formative years. The things that defined you. Maybe it was your parents. Maybe it was some strange experience you had in the forest at some point at night. Maybe it was a movie that you saw, or a magazine that you found, or whatever it might have been. Just what were those things that really formed your ability to create ideas? Where did those ideas come from? And for me, I can still trace back pretty much my whole life story, my career choices, my personality, a lot of the things that I do to a love of comics, and particularly 2000 AD. I was an absolute fanatic for 2000 AD. I still sneak off and read Judge Dredd from time to time. My kid's like, what is that crap you're reading, Dad? Hey, look, YouTube, it's really good. I'm like, comics, they're good. But if you look at comics, if you look at kind of literature, if you look at movies, we can see all the things that we're building now, the ideas are all there. The ideas are just being implemented by us now, and they're being distributed. And if you look at ideation through history as well, if you look at kind of the things that we do, things come up, people build prototypes, they sit around, they don't sleep, they sit around, and then they get taken up and they turn into something amazing. Computing was invented pretty much about 1843 with computer programming. But it took a very, very long time before we could actually build computers to do it. So think of all those amazing things that are out there waiting, as William Gibson says here, to be more evenly distributed. And think in your own businesses or your own daily lives or the businesses of your customers that you work with. All the ideas that are sat there in the business that aren't getting their kind of third voice. How can they move forward? So what we do inside of Google with all of these ideas, all these amazing things that people do with their 20% time, and just in case you've not read any of their 20% stuff, essentially the engineering teams in Google have 20% time, which means they are enforced that 20% of their time, they just do crazy stuff. They decide to build big electronic Papa Smurfs and get them moving around the Google offices and just doing that kind of stuff. And then we kill off those projects because they're not very good. But lots of things come out of those ideas. Gmail is a great example. The cars, you know, the original version of Glass was pretty much engineers with a cell phone and a heads-up display and a big battery taped to the back of their head saying, could we create a wearable on our own head? It's a 20% project. So these 20% projects are there, but what we try to do is we try to categorize ideation into three key areas. And when we look at innovation, when we look at small business, medium businesses, large businesses innovating, and the kind of workshops that we run here with those customers, one of the things we try to do is to get them to say, okay, here's some Post-it notes, write down all the stuff you're doing right now. And this is a good exercise in your life as well. Write down all of the things that you're doing. And then have three buckets like this. So, okay, small incremental steps, polishing, process-centric, can I get a little improvements here? Adjacent markets, jumps in technology, you know, printers that print things rather than printing paper. And then big, amazing, you know, teleport to Japan, escalator to the moon, all those kind of moonshot things. So if you think about these three really interesting innovation markets, you know, improvement, adjacent markets, and new markets, and you look at the work that you're doing day to day, and you get your Post-it notes and you come and put them on the screen here, what you find with most businesses that are failing is that all of their Post-it notes are in this bucket here. And one of the things we try to do with those businesses around fast growth and innovation is to say, regardless of your size, you can be fast growth so long as your Post-it notes go into all of these buckets. And trust me, it works. So if you're out there with a client or some kind of organization, use this wisdom. Just say, okay, I learned this thing from Google. They gave me some of their secret sauce. Write down everything on Post-it notes and group them together. And immediately they'll have a cleverer business plan. And then when you've got that business plan, you need to say to them, well, see the gaps that you've got here. Come up with some ideas. Think back to 2000 AD. Think back to The Matrix. Think back to Star Trek. Whatever it is turns you on. And apply the 6 W's test to those ideas for fast growth. And the 6 W's test, 5 of them have W at the beginning, 1 has W at the end, which is why there are 6 W's, enables you to build a business plan really quickly around, regardless of the size of your organization. Okay, so we've got some ideas. Who's going to do those things? Who's going to manage those ideas? What are we going to do? When, where, why, and how? And that's it. That's the secret to Google's innovation DNA. That's the secret to Google X, to all these amazing projects. It's as simple as saying, let's recognize different types of ideation. Let's apply some simple filters to which things we should do and which things we shouldn't do. Let's look at the amazing unintended consequences of some of the things that flow out. And then let's apply our Sherlock test here to actually putting a simple plan together. And what we see coming out of the internal development teams that we've got, the engineering functions, is kind of a grouping of ideation, a grouping of innovation, thoughts, prototypes, ideas. And as somebody who's studied business, we all love Michael Porter. I've stolen brutally Michael Porter's 5 forces model, and I've come up with Keene's 5 forces of fast growth innovation here, which pretty much groups together all of the things that we see in those internal kind of Google X and engineering projects that are coming out. And what we see right now is we see these 5 big areas: smart cities, smart homes, wearables, robotics, AI, Internet of Things, and all the other mobile pervasive technology that's out there. Analytics, insight into big data, all of the social wisdom of the crowd pieces, the whole low-cost stuff in the cloud that we can just pull on to create things, people, fast growth, talent, agile businesses, collaboration, and then people at home. Home technology, gaming, consumerization. And you can pretty much group all of the amazing fast growth innovation that we're seeing in tech space right now into one of these buckets on Keene's 5 forces of fast growth innovation. Remember that. It's going to be famous one day. I'm going to get a Harvard Business Review article out of this. So these are where all the amazing ideas are starting to kind of come in, and they're bubbling up under these groupings. But behind all of that, there's another really important dynamic, and it's about the people that are engaged there, particularly about the generation that is coming into the tech workforce today. And that generation doesn't recognize digital as being new. That generation doesn't recognize digital as being a development. It's always been there. And digital to them runs back through the different industrial revolutions that we've had to the steam engine, to Thomas Newcomen inventing the steam engine, and then James Watt refining it to create power on tap. The cloud is just the steam engine turned digital. In the cloud, giving you power on tap, in the same way that the steam engine gave you motion power on tap. So we can see in this kind of steampunk history here of the industrial revolutions of the past 300 years, the real connection through to this 4th industrial revolution that we're seeing starting to happen around these big groupings of amazing ideas. The ability to create, to pull power from the cloud to do stuff in a low-cost, always-on scalable way. The ability to connect everything, your car, your phone, your glasses, your cat, your children. Trust me, your animals will be online very soon. You think I'm joking? Would it be useful if I could sell you a service where you could chip your cat so that when the damn thing gets lost, you can go online and go, okay, so where is the cat or the dog or the guinea pig that's stuck under the floor somewhere? I have young children with lots of pets, you can see. And when they're not actually off in the driverless cars going around West London, they're losing animals in our house generally. Everything will go online. Everything becomes connected, people and things. So it's not just the Internet of Things. I like to say the Internet of Things and people. I like to put the people back into the Internet of Things. And then along with that, we start to get machines that can actually manage this ridiculous quantity of data and can think for us and can do dirty, dull, and dangerous jobs, can empty the bins. Nobody should have to empty the bins out there. Robots in 2000 AD fashion should be driving around in bin trucks, emptying all the trash and sorting out all the recycling. And they would do a better job. They wouldn't spill all the things full of plastic that I leave outside every day on the floor outside my house when they pick it up. They'd probably be able to be programmed to pick that up. And this is leading us all down to this kind of 4th industrial revolution that leads us to kind of the future of work. What do we all do every day? And it's interesting, if you think back in terms of industrial revolutions, the original 3 industrial revolutions drove urbanization and coming together. What we're seeing now is that these things are creating the opposite force. People being able to work anywhere on the planet in connected teams, using these new technologies regardless of where they are. And speaking to a bunch of you here today, it's very, very obvious that your teams are all split up in different places. You're collaborating, you're working regardless of wherever and when you want to actually work together on any different devices. So these, again, the big, born in the cloud, powered by steam ideas that are driving much of that innovation and ideation. And this all comes together. You see, this is kind of my summary of the day so far, really. Consumer technology, new business models, and pace of change, pulling together a digital transformation world, competitive advantage on the back of all of these things, and innovation and fast growth. So let's just close off as I run out of time with some summaries of some of the Google X projects that they said I have to talk about. Okay, and I've got 4 here, and these are really great examples. And I'm going to link them all back to my 2000 AD childhood. If you look at any comics or any kind of science fiction, or go all the way back to H.G. Wells, etc., you'll see flying cars, you'll see cars that take you places, you'll see arriving in a particular airport, getting into a vehicle that takes you to a destination, maybe a robot taxi driver. Do we need that robot sitting in there? Can't the car just do it itself? This is a great example of things becoming intelligent, things becoming online, and things being able to do things that we really don't want to do and that we're not very good at doing, like driving. Has anyone here ever had a car accident? Anyone not? People are not great at driving cars. And I think maybe people should be able to go on racetracks to drive cars if they want to do dangerous stuff. And actually in cities, they should be free to text and make phone calls, which is what a lot of drivers seem to want to do when I drive around London. So this will become a reality, trust me. It's been cleared for the UK trials in January 2015. So you'll be starting to see these cars in the UK. Maybe not these little clown cars, which I love. Maybe like the slightly larger ones. But you will see those trials from multiple different companies. Great idea of ideation. Another great example of moonshot thinking, innovation, ideation from Google X. We've been building contact lenses. We're working with Novartis to actually get these into the market. And these initial contact lenses give you the ability to analyze blood sugar. So for diabetics, these give you an always-on monitoring of your blood sugar levels. And as a side result of this, we invented the world's smallest battery and some of the world's smallest circuitry in something that could sit on your eye. Now think about taking this forward. That's just doing that's one sensor for your tears. What about when we can start to use those contact lenses instead of this? Maybe this becomes a contact lens. That would be amazing. That's 2000 AD technology. Another great Google X project is Google Watches. So I've got this fabulous Google Watch here. When I'm ready, when I need to go to a meeting, it vibrates silently on my arm. Doesn't give me a big pop-up message. I look at it, I go off to my next meeting. Helps me navigate, helps me do amazing stuff. Fabulous technology. And of course, Google Glass. And the Glass team are here, so you can all play with Glass afterwards. So I won't tell you too much more about that. Okay, so to close, because I'm slightly over on time. I've spoken to you a little bit about how Google comes up with ideas, how we group those ideas. It's a very nice trick to go in there and be all management consulty with people and say, okay, let's look at your ideas, your plans, let's group them together. You're missing these 2 boxes over here. Come up with some good ideas that will help you avoid being Kodak. Kodak polished the process for film creation and development for many, many years, and then realized that actually everyone had gone digital and they had no business, and they were out of business. Don't fall into that trap. So the big things that we see in ideation in fast growth. Number 1, everything goes online. Not just the Internet of Things, the Internet of people, animals, and processes as well. Your cat will be online. High-value livestock will be online. Think about it. If you're a farmer and you've got a massive farm over most of Brazil, you're probably going to mobile chip most of the cattle that's there so that you know where they are and you know if they're healthy or if you need to actually do anything to them with various sensors in them. Pervasive technology moves to everything in the home, monitoring your energy usage. Should you change those light bulbs? Because really you shouldn't have put halogens in your kitchen, or at least 400 halogens in your kitchen, and it's costing you a lot of money. Across cities, wearables are on people's bodies, cars with lots of innovation in them. And actually we see cars as becoming one of the next big breakthrough platforms, as TV is right now. Third thing, and I kind of flag this one up to you deliberately, ethics and governance. There's going to be a big, big debate here around privacy, data, who owns the data, should things be connected and monitored? And a lot of people will say, no, they shouldn't. You shouldn't monitor somebody's health because actually that data might fall into the hands of an evil terminator in the sky. But actually, there's incredible value to doing these things, and we need to all engage and find what the norms, what things we're comfortable with, and what things should be going on there around how we collect data, what data is collected, what data goes into these processes, and how they work. Number 5 on my list, dirty, dangerous, and dull things will go away. So if you're planning a career that's dirty, dangerous, or dull, maybe the dangerous ones, like the James Bond ones, you're probably okay, but the rest of them, don't advise your kids to become bin men of some description. Intelligence and context gets rolled into everything, and these all drive an incredible amount of innovation and disruption. So my key message to you, be ready for the disruption, be ready for the innovation that comes from that, and think about all of these amazing macro level forces that are out there. Regardless of what it is you're doing, regardless of where it is you work, think of all these things that are going on and how they may influence you and your customers in the future. And remember back to your own formative years and what it is that gives you the ability to create amazing ideas that can plug into these frameworks. Have an amazing afternoon. Thank you.